left the planet. He uprooted an entire society just so he didn't have to take a sesame.
Frickin' brat. What a brat.
Hello and welcome to May the Review Be With You with Nick and Joe. I'm Joe.
I'm Nick.
And today we are reviewing Skeleton Crew, Disney Plus's latest Star Wars show to hit streaming and just wrapped up. And we're here to talk about this story that was a little unexpected for me. I did not expect to have such a fun time on Skeleton Crew. What about you, Nick?
Yeah, same. Just a charming, super fun, and quick Star Wars story. Didn't take itself too seriously. Had maybe some wild things happen to kids, okay, maybe this is a little out there, but who cares? It's a Star Wars story. It was fun. There was nothing about it that was unnecessary, It was just fun. It's fun. And I think Star Wars needed a story like this right now.
This is the first Star Wars story where I've been told for years that Star Wars is for kids, and this is the first time I believed them. You can't show me episodes 1 through 3 and all the politics scenes and tell me, George, you wrote this for kids?
I love democracy.
You know what this
Right.
kids movie needs? More politics.
Yeah. This is the first true kids story in Star Wars, I think, right?
Yeah, actually. And I sort of love the premise of this story, that it's just for I can't really call them friends. They're not friends in the beginning of this. Just 4 misfits who accidentally get blasted away from their home and are lost in the galaxy. I think that's so fun. That's an awesome way to explore the Star Wars universe in a way we've never seen it before.
Yeah, and of course, just what we get in other Star Wars series, right? We get to explore even more of the universe. We get to see even cooler places that we've never been, and that's one of my favorite parts about Star Wars, is that the galaxy is so massive that you could be anywhere, and you could essentially, it's infinite, right? The places that we get to explore, and that was probably one of my favorite parts of the whole series, is just getting to see the new sets that they decided to create, whether it was digitally or for real. And it's always one of my favorite parts of the Star Wars universe. Even if the story isn't great or something, it's always, the sets are always really cool, the worlds they create. And that was really cool with this as well. And I mean, who doesn't love a pirate story? We got to deal with Star Wars pirates. This is fantastic.
Yeah, I totally agree with this. It's something that we've heard so much about in Star Wars. If you followed Clone Wars, you even get to see pirates, right, from time to time. But we've never really had a story really focus around it before, at least in live action. And that really was a delight. It was really cool. I think I want to break this down into some highlights, some lowlights, and just overall standout performances. Let's start high. We go high. Nick, what was the absolute highlight of this show for you?
Jude Law.
Oh, I'm so glad you said this. Yeah, absolutely.
Listen, when you've got when the story's mostly about 4 kids getting lost in the galaxy, you have to have someone who can help carry the whole series that is more seasoned, right? I think the kids did a phenomenal job. They were awesome. But you need someone like Jude Law, who's just a seasoned actor who can step into any role essentially and play it super well. And he was the absolute perfect person to play Jadna Nawood. Weird name.
Kids all I do this.
33. He was phenomenal. It was really cool, and such a treat to have him in the Star Wars universe now. And I hope it's not the last we see of him, because his character was so intriguing, right? We find out that he was training to be a Jedi. Was it during the Clone Wars, and then his master was killed,
Yeah,
right?
his supervillain origin story is Order 66.
Yeah, like what an insane origin story to become a pirate, execute Order 66. Like, so that's why he's got some Jedi powers, right? But that also is the reason he hates droids so much. I'm assuming, right? I'm assuming we didn't get this confirmation, but I'm assuming his master was killed by a droid because of the Order 66, and that's why he mistrusts droids so much. That's my assumption, at least from.
I didn't think about that, but like, because like Order 66 is carried out by the clone troopers, right? But you're right. Like as far as like his distrust of droids, it's not the first time we've seen that, right? Like I think of Mando, right, and the way he feels about droids in that first season. But yeah, that's never properly explained, and the episode that I mean, we hear him talk about how he doesn't really trust droids throughout the season, but in an episode where he does highlight the fact that he does not trust droids is also the same episode that we get that reveal of what happened to him. So I wonder if you're right. I wonder if that is the implication that they were really leaning on there. Because, he purposely didn't say, who killed his master, right? He didn't say it was a clone trooper, which is what you would expect. It could have been a separatist army droid, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Very possible based on that. But a cool way to like bring the Jedi into a story without really getting too forcey with it, right? Like he used the Force a little bit. There's a lightsaber. Really cool scene at the end there with what is the kid's name? Oh my goodness!
Wim?
With Wim holding the lightsaber at the very end, like that was a really cool shot. But yeah, a really cool way to bring some Jedi lore into the universe without having it be Jedi focused, which I appreciate because so much of Star Wars is Jedi focused, and it's really cool to kind of take a step back and tell a separate story that really isn't about the Jedi at all. So it's cool.
Yeah, agreed. Because like the more Jedi stuff you get, which like we love Jedi stuff, right? We love learning about the Sith. We love seeing these entities like on screen. But like the more you get, like it sort of demystifies them. Like what was so special about it starts to like go away.
Yeah.
So it was really awesome to have this character who, I don't know about you, Nick. I had no idea where this character was gonna land at the end of this show.
Right.
Right. Is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? Is he actually like a former Jedi? Is he a Sith? Is he faking it? Right? Like, are they magnets? Right? Like I loved not knowing jack about John. Right? He was so fun, and his betrayal. It didn't shock me that happened. What shocked me is that I kept waiting for like the story to like pull a 180, and it's like, okay, yeah, he's a pirate, and like that's why he betrayed them, but like he's a good guy at the end of the day. And I love that they didn't do that. Like he's just bad, right? Like that was the twist. It's like the twist is there's no twist. He's just bad.
Yes, except there is still some good guy in him, and that
there is, because he doesn't want violence, right?
He doesn't go all the way at the end, because he could have
he could have killed them.
He could have killed him at the end, right? And he's got a little bit of good guy in him still at the very end there. And so that's where
I would say he's bad, but he's not evil.
Right. Yeah, that's a good I like that description, right? And I think that there's enough good guy in him to where there's a character arc left for him somewhere if Disney decides to tell another part of his story down the road, right? I think that there's some open-endedness there where we can get some more. Maybe not of Ad-Atten, but maybe of Jod specifically. Could be a cool character to bring back at some point. I
want to get into where this story ultimately leaves us in a little bit here. Spoilers, I'm going to bring it up during our lowlights. But before we depart highlights, you mentioned Wim before, who's played by Ravi Kabat Connors. And like you already said, all of the kids are so great, and it is so wonderful when you have child actors and like they're actually killing it, right? And all four of them, fantastic. I do really want to point out Ravi's portrayal of Wim, though, because I think it would be so easy to fall into a hole of this character is just annoying, right? he plays this character, and like in universe, the character is annoying.
Yes,
right. Like he's
very.
annoying to like everyone around him.
Very much annoying.
Yes, and it would be so easy for like us, the audience, to also not like this character as a result. But like Ravi plays this character beautifully. I loved Wim, even though he's so annoying, and like at the end of the day, he's almost the cause of everybody's problems. I loved this character. I love how wonderfully naive he is. I love how stubborn and insistent he is. I love when shit backfires on him. He's just a little kid about it, and he looks like a deer in the headlights. It was just such a believable portrayal of an annoying child.
Yeah, excellent performance. I will say though that I was mostly annoyed with Wim during the whole series. So I mean, the whole thing is his fault, but it's fine. It's fine.
All right, give him this. Ravi might have the best joke in all of Star Wars. Easily. You know what I'm talking about?
Enlighten me.
It's the moment where he steps up to Jod with the lightsaber, and Jod says, "Put that down. You don't know what you're doing with it." And he activates the lightsaber, but it's upside down and scares the hell out of him, and he throws it away. Amazing joke.
So funny.
Just chef's kiss.
So funny. Yeah, that was fantastic. You don't know what you're doing. Yes, I do. Oh my God, I don't. Never mind.
Like, that was such a great, like, little kid thing to happen.
Yeah, that was fantastic. But, and another reason why the show worked so well, right? Like, it didn't take itself too seriously. It wasn't trying to. It gave us plenty of moments of like, yeah, these are just kids. Of course, like they're not going to be able to just like be victorious here. They're going to need help, and yeah, it was cool, very cool.
Also, Ryan Kira Armstrong as Fern, I think is probably the standout of the four kids.
Yeah,
she also had the most to do, and yeah, she was wonderful. I mean, all four of these kids, like I hope we get to see them in other roles, as their career evolves down the road.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she had a lot to, because of the kids. Like, I feel like she's got to carry like some of like the biggest performances, like as their leader, right?
Yeah.
And as that leader who's like thrusted into the leadership position, but like also sort of wants it, but also sort of doesn't. She carried that beautifully. Just a great shout out there. I mean, just all across the board, just awesome performances.
Give me a low light.
Yeah. Oh, okay. My low light is the ending of this show. I think that this show is great. It's so fun, and that's all I really needed out of this show, was it to just be fun, right? I wasn't expecting it to be intriguing. Like, the genuine like mystery of Adden was fascinating. The mystery around the captain and his treasure, fascinating. Jod, fascinating. The ending just sort of feels like, all right, we're done.
Yeah.
Like, and there's so much like that feels like it could have been addressed, and maybe, you know, they're leaving a lot of that out for season 2, right? I think there's certainly more, like you said, we could learn about Jod.
Yeah.
Or what's going to happen with Wim, right?
Right. Or Atten, like, is it now just,
right? Like I
barriers, like, is the barrier just gone? Like, now they need protection because that's where all the coin is made. So
right, that's what I'm talking about. Like, I don't really. That doesn't feel like a season 2 thing to me. That feels like that should be part of the finale, right? Like, where does this leave at Adden and its residents and the great work?
Because the only way to like keep it, you know, in house is to, now you have to keep all those pirates like in jail on Adden, because you can't let them off, because if they're in another place where they can talk to other people, where word can get out where Adden is, then you have a problem. So it leaves a lot of questions about the safety of Adden and the great work, right? So that's definitely a low light, not having that question answered. But like you said, maybe there's a season 2 on the horizon, or maybe not a season 2, but like that's something you can address via a continued like Jod story potentially, right? Or even like a spin-off with one of the kids, or two of the kids, or something. Who knows?
I mean, it could even be revisited in like a separate character who's already been established in a different series, right? Like, we know that The Mandalorian is getting a movie that comes out, I want to say in like 2026. It's soon. You know, maybe maybe this is where it's taking place, right? Like,
Yeah.
as far as like parents and children goes, that would kind of work, right?
Right.
But yeah, who knows? But yeah, like just as it feels, the way the ending like goes, it just feels unresolved in a way that is not cliffhanger, right? It just feels like
Yeah.
we're leaving you without answering important story beats here. We're just done.
Especially since the whole series was like, how do we get back to a place that you can't find?
Right.
And now that there's
it's
no
found
barrier
by everyone now.
Yeah, now that there's no barrier and a lot of people know where it is, how does it move forward safely, essentially? So we don't get that answer.
Right.
So yeah, we'll see.
Right. Like it's almost like you got to the climax, and like, you know, with every story, like there's an epilogue, right? It's like, okay, the climax was the conflict, and you know, the last like couple minutes is dedicated to letting us know, okay, this is the new status quo moving forward. And we just don't do that in this show. Like we're just like, conflict over, movie over. Like it's just done.
Yeah.
Which, like, I guess, like, the only status quo that, like, update that we're getting is Wim doesn't have to take his test. Like, that's it.
Yeah. Wim had to go through all that just to get what he wanted, you know? I mean, like...
Wim left the planet. He uprooted an entire society just so he didn't have to take assessment.
Frickin' brat. What a brat.
Wim sucks!
Oh man. Okay, so I want to talk about two of my favorite characters as well, and it also leads into how they shot these characters. So SM-33 got to be one of my top 3 droids of all time now after this film. Like Pirate
Played
Droid,
by Nick Frost too.
Yeah, Pirate Droid, just awesome. And number 2 is Neil. I think everyone's favorite top favorite character here in this.
Oh
in this
yeah,
episode.
easily.
So those two characters, really cool. So SM-33 was actually mostly a puppet. So played by the puppeteer's name was Rob Ramsdell. And so the way that they filmed SM-33 is his chest is actually like a two-way mirror. So they used like clear vacuum foam plastic, and then they made that a two-way mirror. So the puppeteer Rob could see through SM-33 and be able to maneuver him in scenes.
So that's he why can react accordingly to.
So that's why it looks so realistic, is because it's not CGI; it's a puppet, and they just like made it see-through for the puppeteer. So it's like really cool, like practical effect that they used to make this like really come to life. And then for Neil, it was kind of twofold. There was a suit that Robert Timothy Smith, the kid who was playing Neil, was able to wear in some scenes. And then, of course, they used like, you know, stuff for his facial expressions to kind of mimic. And then also in scenes where he wasn't wearing the suit, the head was animatronic, played by Casey Burrowman, was like doing a lot of the animatronics and like things like that. And so like Neil was kind of like twofold, like a puppet, but all animatronic like puppet, but also like a suit that like the kid would wear in the scenes. So it was like kind of like a joint teamwork, I guess, to play Neil. And really SM-33 as well. But
yeah, I was gonna say, but both of them.
Yeah. So I thought
to bring the character to life.
Yeah, so I thought that was really cool, and it makes sense why it was so like it felt a lot more realistic with both those characters on screen, because like they were really actually like moving and interacting with the actors and actresses, and so it made it easier for, of course, like the Jude Laws and then the other actors and actresses to like interact and stuff. So
yeah,
really cool.
That's such a great point about, you know, being on set, right? Because like you can draw more of a performance from an actor when they're actually, you know, bouncing off of something that's real, right?
And it's helpful for the kids too, right? Because they don't have as much experience. Even someone like Jude Law, I think he even said that it was awesome to have that those interactions to help. But even like for the kids, like there's so much less experience in an acting perspective, of course, just because of their age. And so it just makes it even a better experience for them to actually be able to like act, you know? And so
that's a great point.
And they were all phenomenal. So I think it definitely helped for sure.
I think of the kids, like Robert Timothy Smith, Neil, I think he has most of the comedic lines
Yeah.
throughout the show, and yeah, like his performance is great, just like the rest, right? And like you were saying, that it probably helps that he was able to do that because he was on the set with the kids, right? Not just in a recording booth.
Right.
Can actually be the character
For sure.
That's awesome. No, I had no idea that it took a village literally to bring those characters to life.
Yeah. Good old Star Wars, man. Just making it happen. I love it.
When Star Wars is at its best, it is falling back on the George Lucas like practical effects of the 70s, right? 70s and 80s.
Exactly.
Yeah. That is super cool to know that is still happening. Nick, I want to go back to Lowlights here because I shared my Lowlight. I don't know if you have one though. Do you have one, or is this just a banger all the way through?
No, it was just an awesome, enjoyable show. Like I don't really have a lowlight, like I don't want to nitpick on like, kids traveling through the galaxy and like nothing bad happening to them. At least not to the point where like they don't make it back home or anything like that. Like story-wise, it's a fun Star Wars story, and that's all it is.
My dumb Hollywood brain has trained me to accept the fact that won't happen. I've seen Jurassic Park. Like, there's no way those two kids should have survived that situation. So I totally buy that these kids were fine.
Yeah, so like stuff like that, right? Like I honestly don't really have a low light. Like it was fun. I think if there is a low light, it's just the abrupt ending that we were talking about. But I don't, it didn't bother me. It wasn't like I was like, oh, I can't believe that's how it ended. I was like, like cool, mostly resolved ending. There's some questions, of course, but most likely we get some kind of answers later. And even if we don't, I'm not gonna lose sleep over what happens to At-Atten. So,
I mean, same. Even though I love the concept of At-Atten, I think it's such a neat concept for the Star Wars universe to have this like hidden planet.
Well, there were multiple too. That's the cool part. I'd love to explore more of the lore on like the other ones, and like, is there? Because we don't know if they're all offline. We know at least one or two of them are, but like maybe there is at least a couple more we haven't got a final word on yet. So maybe there's more than one At-Atten that's still operating. So that
this is a perfect segue into standout episodes here. My favorite episode, I'm forgetting what the title of it is called, but it is the episode that they go to at Akron, one of those planets that you were just mentioning.
Yeah.
This episode is awesome. It further deepens like the mystery of At-Atten. It adds to that frustration of just like how hidden this planet like actually is. And it had one of my favorite setups of the entire show. I think like I was so slow to pick this up, Nick. I don't know if you picked it up faster. I was so slow. I think maybe like 5 minutes before the reveal, after like the bajillionth time SM33 says, I don't know nothing about, never heard anything about no At-Atten, right? I think like 5 minutes before the reveal, I was like, oh, he was ordered. Like, like I got it 5 minutes before they said it. I've seen people online, like they were saying, they caught on to that like way earlier on. I did not because I have dumb monkey brain. What about you?
Yeah, I don't think I caught on to it at all. I was like not even thinking it. I just discovered it with the show when I was supposed to. So dumber monkey brain than you, I guess.
Monkeys stick together. It's all good. But I love that reveal. I thought that was great. I love that the Fern is the character that picks up on it because, like, of course she is, right? Yeah. They set that up from episode 1. That's a great setup. I love that actress's like breakdown, like just minutes before this, where she's after we find out that the coordinates for At-Atten have been erased, we got Ryan Kara Armstrong who's just melting down at the window when Wim comes over to ask her what we should do next. She's, like she just has this like very like little kid reaction. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm a kid like you. Like, I don't know. Like, I loved that part of the story. I kind of wish like we had gotten to explore that a little bit more, but for what it was, the Ad Akron episode is absolutely a standout to me. Plus, Neil gets to shine, and Neil's great.
Yeah, that was a fun episode as well. I think the standout for me is probably the episode where they go to, I forget now, the pirate SM-33's original captain.
Oh, when they go to the spa.
They go to the spa. Yeah, I love that
It's a great
episode.
episode.
And it was really cool how they had to like find the treasure that he had hidden in the mountain, basically. I really like that end scene there when they essentially discover everything, and like the treasure, right? Because like, you know, it's a show about pirates, and so we actually, like, you know, in many ways the treasure of the show is like getting back to Ad-Atten and finding Ad-Atten, but there was also like a treasure discovery, like an actual treasure room that we got to see too, which I appreciated them giving us that, like, little, how do we get, you know, through these obstacles and not die, basically. And in that scene, we get to see how evil Jod really is, because he has the acid fill up and kill a bunch of pirates on the other side of the door. That was like a turning point for him and the audience, because we hadn't really seen him get his hands dirty too much yet. And in that moment, the kids even realized, oh, we're dealing with a bad dude, more than we maybe knew yet. So that was, yeah.
Yeah, agreed. I think that might be it, because Star Wars is kind of famous for the only things that die are stormtroopers, right? I think that may have been the most brutal way someone has been killed in Star Wars, unless there's one that I'm... Well, I guess maybe the Death Star would disagree with me. Getting obliterated by the Death Star is pretty brutal. But yeah, on a smaller scale...
You're forgetting whole planets.
At least you're vaporized pretty fast. I imagine the acid is not as quick, not nearly as quick.
Yeah, that's a little... Yeah, that's not fun.
No, I absolutely agree with you. Spa episode is amazing. It's also like a great like meta commentary on how like the pirate like history has been like hijacked by like tourist and hospitality groups, even by Disney, right? Like Disney's done that, and it's just, you know, turned into like this big tourism thing.
Yeah,
that was great. Like a nice like little wink and nudge. But yeah, so I think that leaves us down to ratings here. Nick, we do shows out of 10. Where are you putting Skeleton Crew?
You know what? I'm going to give Skeleton Crew an 8.1, just because in that 8 range for me, that's really for me, like, if you're an 8 or above, it's a rewatchable, really enjoyable show. And so, yeah, 8.1, like, would totally rewatch the show. I think it's enjoyable. I'd love to see some of these characters again. I really don't have anything bad to say overall about it. It was just fun. I think it's the exact kind of thing Star Wars needed right now in the interim, until we get something else that's maybe a little bit more serious, a little bit more lore encompassing. So this was really cool.
Right, Andor 2 coming around the corner. I'm not expecting that to be nearly as fun. I agree with you on all of your logic. I'm not far behind you. I'm a 7.5. My logic though is anything that's 7 and above is a rewatch for me. And I will absolutely find myself probably rewatching this at some point. Especially those first like 3 episodes. They're just super fun. A great time.
For sure.
Yeah. But that'll do it for us here today. But of course, you know, we're in a new year and we have lots of new movies and TV that we're going to be keeping up with. Some of which doesn't always make it onto the podcast or the YouTube channel. Nick, for those who are trying to keep up with the commentary, what's the best way for them to do so?
Sure. Yeah. Everyone, you can find us on Threads at May the Review Be With You. That's where we kind of talk about other movies and shows that we're kind of watching, and that we might not be talking about on YouTube. Silo season 2 just finished, so we're going to be on Threads talking about that a little bit. Of course, upcoming, take a look at our YouTube channel in the next couple weeks. We've got our time travel draft continuing with X-Men Days of Future Past. We're gonna put that online in a few weeks. And then we've got some more of those here coming up as well. Captain America: Brave New World's coming out. We're going to be talking about that as well in the next month or so. So yeah, keep track of us on Threads, and of course at YouTube. Please subscribe and let us know in the comments what you think. But until next time,
may the review be with you.
Peace.